Hello everyone, welcome back to online lecture series on engineering thermodynamics. We are continuing our topic of work and heat transfer. So first of all, we will do a quick revision of what we have done in our previous lecture. So we started with work transfer. Work is said to be done by a system if the sole effect on the things external to the system can be reduced to the raising of a weight. So here we took an example of battery and motor. Here with this battery we are running this motor and we are having a fan which is rotating. So this rotation of fan is replaced with a rising of weight. So this is work transfer from the system. Now there is a sign convention. When the work is done by a system, it is arbitrarily taken to be positive, and when the work is done on a system, it is taken to be negative, and symbol W is used for work transfer. So here, as you can see in this figure, in this case the work is done by the system, so it is positive, and here work is done on the system, that's why it is negative. Now unit of work is Newton into meter or joule. Then we discussed about PdV work or displacement work with an example of piston cylinder arrangement. So with detailed discussion we arrived to a formula that work transfer from 1 to 2 is given by integration from V1 to V2 P into dV, that is called as PdV work. So here the same process from state 1 to state 2 is drawn on PV diagram, and the area under this curve gives us the PdV work. And obviously this is for quasi-static process. Then we discussed about path function and a point function. Here in case of path function, the function is dependent on path, just like work transfer or PdV work, and point function are independent of path and they depends only on the state. Then we discussed about PdV work in various quasi-static processes: constant pressure process, constant volume process, isothermal process, in which we separately derived everything, then polytropic process, that is general form of equations, which is governed by PV raised to n is equal to constant, and we derived the formula for that. Once we replace this parameter n with the ratio of specific heat gamma, it becomes the equation for adiabatic process. Then there are other type of work transfers: electrical work, shaft work, paddle wheel work, flow work, work done in stretching wire, work done in changing the area of a surface film, and magnetization of paramagnetic solid. So we discussed about flow work, which is analogous to displacement work, and we derived the formula for the same. Now we are beginning our today's topic, which is heat transfer. So heat is defined as the form of energy that is transferred across a boundary by virtue of a temperature difference. So here in this case, temperature difference is necessary for transfer of heat. And the temperature difference is the potential or force, and heat transfer is the flux. Now if you see this figure, here in this figure there is a system and surrounding separated by this boundary. Here when the heat is entering into the system, it is considered to be positive, and when the heat is leaving the system, then it is considered to be negative. So this is the sign convention that we are going to follow throughout this subject. The transfer of heat between two bodies is in direct contact is called as conduction. So whenever two bodies A and B, when they are in direct contact, it is called as conduction. So the transfer between these two bodies is called conduction. Heat may be transferred between two bodies by empty space or gases by a mechanism of radiation through electromagnetic waves, and this is known as radiation. So for the example of radiation, the heat which Earth receives from Sun is radiation because it is through the electromagnetic waves. And a third method of heat transfer is convection, which refers to a transfer of heat between a wall and a fluid system in the motion. So whenever there is an interaction between a solid and fluid, there will be a transfer of heat through convection. So if you see, there are three types of heat transfer. First is this conduction, second is radiation, and third is convection. So these are three modes of heat transfer, and we are not going to going into detail of these three modes of heat transfer right now, because in next semesters there will be a separate subject for this. Now the direction of heat transfer is taken from high temperature system to low temperature system. That is quite obvious that heat always transfers from high temperature to low temperature, and heat flow into the system is taken to be positive, that is shown over here, and heat flow out of the system is taken as negative, that is over here. Now heat transfer, a path function. So we will see that transfer of heat is actually a path function, just like a work transfer. So here the heat flow Q in a process can be quantified in terms of W in the same process between two given terminal states. So W is different for different adiabatic processes between two states, and it is not conserved. So here W is always different for different adiabatic processes and it is not conserved. So what we are trying to say here, that to quantify the heat flow, we need that Q, equation of Q in which W is appearing. So here, however, from the conservation of energy, the difference Q minus W is always conserved. So Q minus W is always conserved here for all paths between two same two states, and heat flow Q like W depends on the process and it is path dependent. Heat transfer is a path function, that is, the amount of heat transferred when a system changes from state 1 to state 2 depends on the intermediate states through which the system passes, that is its path. Therefore, d cut q is an inexact differential and it is written in this way. So integration from 1 to 2 d cut q is equal to q12. The displacement work is given by W122 is equal to integration P dV, that is already known to us. So here we are having the left hand side diagram is already known to you people, we have studied this, that between state 1 to state 2 there is a process, quasi-static process, and in PV diagram the area under this curve gives us work transfer governed by this formula. Now, as pressure difference is the potential for transfer of work, here we are having temperature difference as the potential for heat transfer. However, here on the x-axis we are having volume, but we don't know about x-axis of this diagram. So we can mimic this formula of work transfer for our heat transfer. So here P is replaced with T and V is replaced with X. So here we can write down Q122 is equal to integration 1 to 2 T dx, where X is not known to us. So d cut q is equal to T dx, and dx can be written as 1 upon T d cut q. Now we will be discussing about specific heat and latent heat. The specific heat is defined as the amount of heat required. The amount of heat required to raise a unit mass of a substance through a unit rise in temperature. And the symbol C is used for specific heat. So to explain this in mathematical form, the formula is C, that is specific heat, is equal to Q. Q is the amount of heat required to raise unit mass. So unit quantities will be in denominator. So here we are having unit mass M of a substance through a unit rise in temperature, that is delta T, and its unit is joule per kg Kelvin. The Q amount is the amount of heat transfer in joule, M is the mass of substance in kg, and delta T is rise in temperature in Kelvin. The product of mass and specific heat is called as heat capacity of a substance, where capital C is used for heat capacity. Now regarding the latent heat. The latent heat is the amount of heat transfer required to cause a phase change in unit mass of substance at constant pressure and temperature. So if you compare these two heats, then specific heat is required for unit rise in temperature, where latent heat is required for a phase change. Okay, so the amount of heat required to cause a phase change in unit mass of substance at constant pressure and temperature. We will go into detail of this latent heat. So there are various types of latent heats. So first is latent heat of fusion. It is the amount of heat transferred to melt a unit mass of solid into liquid or freeze a unit mass of liquid into solid. So the latent heat of fusion deals with transfer of phase from solid to liquid. So if we consider, let us say 1 kg of ice is there, so the amount of heat which is required to melt this 1 kg of ice will be called as latent heat of fusion, or the heat to be removed to convert a water into ice for 1 kg is also a latent heat of fusion. The next is latent heat of vaporization. It is the amount of heat required to vaporize a unit mass of liquid into vapor or condense a unit mass of vapor into liquid. So this heat is the phase change between liquid to vapor. So you can take an example of conversion of water into steam or condensation of steam into water. And the last type of latent heat is latent heat of sublimation. It is the amount of heat transferred to convert a unit mass of solid to vapor or vice versa. So here the conversion is between solid and vapor. Okay, so these are 3 types of latent heats. So this is the end of chapter work and heat transfer. So now we will begin a new chapter, which is first law of thermodynamics. So our first topic is first law for a closed system undergoing a cycle. We will first focus on this figure, in which here we are having an adiabatic vessel. The meaning of adiabatic vessel is heat cannot interact with the system. Inside this vessel we are having a water, and we have provided a thermometer along with a paddle wheel, which is being run through lowering this weight via pulley. So consider a closed system which consists of a known mass of water contained in the adiabatic vessel having a thermometer and a paddle wheel. Now let us say that initially this weight was at this location, and once we allow this weight to go down, this paddle wheel will rotate. So here the amount of work done is W122 on this system by a paddle work. The quantity of work can be measured by a fall of weight which drives the paddle wheel through the pulley. So this height will give us the amount of work done. So as this paddle wheel is rotating, the temperature of this water will increase. So the system was initially at temperature T1, the same as that of atmosphere, and after the work transfer, let the temperature has been raised to T2. The pressure is always 1 atmosphere. So this is the arrangement for our case. Now the process 1 to 2 undergone by a system is shown in this figure. So here the work done on the system is shown with this curve. The process is 1 to 2 in this direction. Let us say that still we are not aware of this two thermodynamic coordinates 1 to x and y. Now what we are going to do is let the insulation is removed. That is, now the system and surrounding can interact by heat transfer till the system returns to its original temperature, attaining the condition of thermal equilibrium with the atmosphere. So here, once we remove the insulation, water will lose its heat as well as there will be a decrease in its temperature, and this will happen till the water reaches the environmental or atmospheric temperature. So there will be a heat transfer from the system. So this process is indicated by this curve, that is process from 2 to 1 in this direction, and here we are having heat transfer from the system. So the amount of heat transfer Q 2 to 1 from the system during the process 2 to 1 can be estimated. So now the system executes a cycle because it has returned to its original state 1, which consists of definite work input W122 to be followed by a transfer of amount of Q2 to 1 from the system. It is found that W122 is always proportional to the heat Q2 to 1, and the constant of proportionality is called as Joule's equivalent of heat. If the cycle involves many more heat and work quantities, then the same result will be found. Here we have taken only two, that is one work transfer and another is heat transfer. If the cycle involves many more heat and work quantities, the same result will be found. So here the summation of work interactions during a cycle is equal to J into summation of heat interactions in the cycle, where J is Joule's equivalent. And this can also be expressed in the integral form given by this formula, that is, the cyclic integral dW is equal to cyclic integral dQ. This is the first law for a closed system undergoing a cycle. Now we will apply first law of thermodynamics for a closed system undergoing a change of state. Here consider this simple example of system and surrounding where heat is entering Q and work output is there W. Now if a system undergoes a change of state during which both heat transfer and work transfer are involved, the net energy will be stored within the system. So let me tell you that here we don't have a cyclic process. So, and Q and W are never equal. So, there will be a difference in Q and W given by Q minus W. This is the net energy transfer, and this will be stored within the system. If Q is the amount of heat transferred to the system and W is the amount of work transfer from the system during a process, the net energy transfer Q minus W will be stored inside the system. Energy in storage is neither heat nor work. It is called as internal energy, or simply the energy of the system. And the formula for this is Q minus W equal to delta E. So this is conserved and this is called as internal energy, or simply the energy of the system, where delta E is the increase in the energy of the system. Q is equal to delta E plus W. Now this is another figure in which there are more than one work and heat interactions. If there are more energy transfer quantities are involved in a process, then we can write down this formula. Here it is said that when work is done on the system, it is taken as positive, and work done by the system is taken as negative. Here Q, when it is entering into the system, it is positive, and when it is leaving the system, it is negative. So here, to repeat this part, when the work is done on the system, it is taken as negative, and when the work is done by the system, it is taken as positive. So the positive terms will be shown with a green line. So W2 is work done by the system, that's why it is positive. Here W3 is also work done by the system. Here Q3 is the heat entering into the system. Similarly, Q2 is also entering into the system. Here W1 is work done on the system, that's why it is negative. W4 is also work done on the system, that's why it is negative. And Q1 is the heat leaving the system, that's why it is negative. Okay, so to simplify this formula, you can also write down in this way, that sigma Q equal to delta E plus sigma W. Okay, so this is the form of equation when more than one heat and work interactions are present in this case. Now we will prove that energy is a property of system. When I speak energy, consider it as an internal energy. So here, first of all, we will focus on this figure. Consider a system which changes its state from state 1 to state 2 by following the path A. So first we are focusing on this PV diagram in which there are two states, state 1 and state 2. And here from state 1 to state 2, it is following this path and the direction is this. Okay. Now the system undergoes a cycle. How? Here let us say that from state 2 it is following the path B to again reach to state 1. So it will follow this path. With this direction. So here we are completing a cycle with two processes, process A and process B, or path A and path B. So writing the first law of thermodynamics for path A is QA is equal to delta EA plus WA. Similarly, we can write down the first law of thermodynamics for path B, that is QB is equal to delta EB plus WB. The processes A and B together constitutes a cycle, as you can see in this diagram also. So here it can be written that sigma W of a cycle is equal to sigma Q of a cycle. So we can write down all the work interactions that are WA plus WB is equal to all the heat interactions that are QA plus QB. So here these are just some mathematical simplifications, and we are getting QA minus WA is equal to WB minus QB. So finally we are getting this formula, that delta EA is equal to minus of delta EB. Now we are going to have another cycle, let us say from path A to path C. First we will go from state 1 to state 2 through path A. So this is our path, and let us say that instead of following path B, we are following path C from 2 to 1. In this way. So similarly, for a cycle between path A and path C, that is shown as a sky blue color, then it can be proved that here delta EA is equal to minus of delta EC, and you can follow this same process for path A to path C, and you will obtain this formula again. So by comparing these two equations, we can obtain delta EB is equal to delta EC. Here actually negative sign should not be there. So we have obtained this formula that delta EB is equal to delta EC. So the meaning is that here whether we have path B or path C, the change in the energy is same. So the change in energy is independent of the path which we are following. The meaning is that energy it does not depend on path, that is it only depends on the state. It is a point function and that's why it is a property of a system. So we have proved that energy is a property of the system. Now we will study about different forms of stored energy. So energy can be of two forms. First is energy in transit and second is energy in storage. Work and heat interactions are forms of energy in transit. So here we have work and heat interactions. It is observed at the boundaries of the system. So work and heat are observed at the boundary of the system. They are not properties of the system that we have already discussed. They are path function and their magnitude depending upon the path of the system follows during the change of state. Now we will see about energy in storage. Energy in storage is called as internal energy, which we have proved as a property of the system in our previous slide. It is a point or a state function and hence a property of a system. Symbol E refers to total energy stored in the system. Basically, there are two modes in which the energy may be stored in the system. First is macroscopic energy mode and second is microscopic energy mode. So first we will discuss about macroscopic mode of internal energy. Here focus on this figure. Let us say that this is a flow of some fluid in which we are focusing on this much of fluid mass. In this fluid mass there are some random thermal motion of molecules and the quantity of this fluid mass is denoted as m and the average velocity of this fluid mass is v bar, and this fluid mass is at a height of z from an arbitrary datum. So here the macroscopic energy mode includes the macroscopic kinetic energy and potential energy. So there are two types of energies present in this case. First is kinetic energy and second is potential energy. Let us consider a fluid element of a mass m having center of mass velocity v bar, and the macroscopic kinetic energy Ek of a fluid element by virtue of its motion is given by Ek is equal to m v bar square divided by 2. That is our standard formula, half mv square. Now if the elevation of fluid element from an arbitrary datum is z as shown over here, then the macroscopic potential energy Ep by virtue of its position is given by this formula, Ep is equal to mgz. So this is our macroscopic potential energy Ep. So these are two macroscopic mode of internal energy. Now the microscopic mode The microscopic mode refers to the energy stored in the molecular and atomic structure of the system, which is called molecular internal energy, or simply the energy. Molecules can have translational kinetic energy, rotational kinetic energy, vibrational energy, electronic energy, chemical energy, and a nuclear energy. So here this can be seen in this figure that molecules can have translational energy, rotational energy, vibrational energy, nuclear binding energy, etc. So here, to sum them up together, we can obtain in this way the specific internal energy related to the molecules. Now, if n is the total number of molecules in the system, so this is for a single molecule. Okay, so if there are total n number of molecules in the system, then the total energy of the system is given by capital U is equal to n into epsilon. So the total energy E of the system is given by this formula. E is equal to Ek plus Ep plus U. So first two are the macroscopic mode of energy and U is the microscopic mode of energy, where Ek, Ep and U refers to kinetic, potential and internal energy respectively. Now, in the absence of motion and gravity, we can neglect these two. So, we are getting the equation direct as total energy is equal to the molecular internal energy, and we can modify the formula Q is equal to delta U plus W. Previously, it was Q is equal to delta E plus W. So here capital U is an extensive property of the system, and the specific internal energy of the system small u is given by capital U by M. Now we can write down the same equations in differential forms, that is d cut W is equal to dE plus d cut W. Sorry, to repeat, d cut Q is equal to dE plus d cut W. And in the absence of motion and gravity, we can replace capital E with capital U, that is d cut Q is equal to du plus d cut W. And here d cut W, that is the various work interactions, can be PDV, shaft, electrical and other work transfers. So we can write down in this way. Now consider, here we have considered different forms of work transfer which may be present. However, when only PDV work is present, we can neglect this other work transfer. So d cut W is equal to d cut W PDV. So here we can replace d cut W with simply d cut W of PDV. So again, in the absence of motion and gravity, that is when we consider these two, we can replace capital E with capital U. In integral form, we can write down Q is equal to delta E plus integration of PDV, and again in the absence of motion and gravity, we can write down Q is equal to delta U plus integration PDV. Now our next theory is specific heat at constant volume. The specific heat of a substance at a constant volume Cv is defined as the rate of change of specific internal energy with respect to temperature when the volume is held constant. So here it is the rate of change of specific internal energy with respect to temperature when the volume is held constant. So mathematically it can be written as Cu is equal to del U over del T at constant volume. So you can again read this definition in context of this equations, then you will be easily getting this formula. Now for constant volume process, this can be written. So what we have done here, this is nothing but integration of the above formula, then you will be getting this. That is delta U at constant volume is equal to integration T1 to T2 Cv dt. So the first law may be written for a closed stationary system composed of a unit mass of pure substance. That is this formula, Q is equal to delta U plus W. So it can also be written in the differential form with this d cut W is equal to du plus d cut. To repeat, d cut W is equal to du plus d cut W. Now for a process in absence of work other than P dV work, we can simply replace d cut W as P dV. So this formula again is modified over here. When the volume is held constant, we can write down in this way. Why? Because if you see this formula, if you focus on this part here, we have reached up to this, and when the volume is constant, as our whole theory is at constant volume, this will be 0 because dV, that is change in volume, will be 0. So we are simply left with d cut Q is equal to du. Then once we integrate this equation, we will be getting this formula, that Q at constant volume is equal to delta U at constant volume, and we can write down in this way. Now we have directly utilized this formula over here. Okay, so heat transferred at constant volume increases the internal energy of the system, that is validated with this equation. And if the specific heat of substance is defined in terms of heat transfer, we can write down in this way. So this is also based on this formula, and here there is a change, you can replace this U with V. Okay. So our next theory is enthalpy. So enthalpy of a substance H is defined as H is equal to U plus PV. So it is summation of internal energy plus pressure into volume. In our previous theory, internal energy change is equal to heat transferred at constant volume process involving no work other than P dV. So this statement is nothing but delta U at constant volume was equal to Q into V, that is that is same as our previous slides equation. So this is just a the same statement is written in words over here. That is the internal energy change delta U equal to the heat transferred in the constant volume process Q involving no work other than PdV. Now it is possible to derive an expression for heat transfer in a constant pressure process involving no work other than PdV work. In such process, in a closed stationary system of unit mass of pure substance. So what we are going to do in this theory, we are going to prove that the change in enthalpy at constant pressure is equal to Q, that is heat transfer at constant pressure involving no work other than PdV work. So we are going to prove this part in our theory. So again we are revising our first law of thermodynamics, that is d cut Q is equal to du plus PdV. Now at a constant pressure we can write down this, that is PdV is equal to d into d of PV. Now to explain this part, let us say that we are having this formula, differentiation of P into V. So here to differentiate this, first we will keep P as a constant and we will differentiate volume plus keeping volume as a constant and differentiating pressure. However, our entire theory is at constant pressure here, as shown over here. This will vanish because dP will be 0 in this case. That's why we can write down differentiation of P into V equal to PdV, and the same statement is written over here in reverse way. So we can write down the same formula again in this way. So here we will not consider this formula, just forget about this. So now we can write down this, that is d cut Q at constant pressure is equal to d into the bracket U plus PV. So that is this, we can take U and PV terms together. So we can write down d cut Q at constant pressure is equal to dH. So once we here H is equal to U plus PV is specific enthalpy and it is a property of system. Now once you integrate this formula, you can obtain this equation. Okay, so hence we have proved that statement, and heat transfer at constant pressure increases the enthalpy of a system. For an ideal gas, the enthalpy becomes H is equal to U plus RT. Now from where this is arrived? Because for ideal gas, as you know, PV is equal to RT. So we have simply replaced PV with RT in this equation. For ideal gas, the internal energy only depends on the temperature. So you need to remember this part, that U is function of temperature only, and so as as U is only function of temperature only, we can say that the H value is also function of temperature only, because it contains only R and T. The total enthalpy is given by capital H is equal to capital U plus P into V. If you see, this equation is for 1 kg or unit mass, and when we consider a particular mass, then we need to write down the total enthalpy. And the specific enthalpy is given by H is equal to small h is equal to capital H divided by M. So our next theory is specific heat at constant pressure. We will stop here and we will continue this topic in our next lecture. So we will do a quick revision of what we have done in our today's lecture. First we started with heat transfer. Which is due to the temperature difference. There are three modes of heat transfer: conduction, convection and radiation. Then we studied that heat transfer is a path function, and we tried to obtain an unknown property here, so that the area under this curve gives us the value of heat. And in later in our other chapters, we will understand that this X is nothing but entropy. Then we studied about specific heat and latent heat. Specific heat is given by C is equal to Q divided by M into delta T. And latent heat is the amount of heat transfer to cause a phase change in unit mass of substance at a constant pressure and temperature. There are three types of latent heats: latent heat of fusion, latent heat of vaporization and latent heat of sublimation. And then this was the end of our work and heat transfer chapter. Then we started with first law of thermodynamics. We started with first law for a closed system undergoing a cycle with this example, in which we arrived to an equation that sigma of W in a cycle is equal to J sigma Q of a cycle, where J is Joule's equivalent. And this can also be expressed in this integral form, that is cyclic integral of W is equal to cyclic integral of Q. Then we studied the first law of thermodynamics for a closed system undergoing a change of state, in which Q minus W is always stored in the system, which is called as internal energy. And then we proved that internal energy is a property of a system by taking two different cycles. First cycle was path A to B and second was path A to C. And as the value of delta E is same for both paths, it is independent of path and it is a point function. Hence, it is a property of the system. Then we studied about different forms of energies: kinetic, potential energy, then the energy which is at microscopic level, and this is the total energy E. And these are various forms of equations of first law of thermodynamics. The next theory was specific heat at constant volume given by del U upon del T at constant volume, and then we studied about enthalpy, which is H is equal to U plus Pv, and we derived the formula for the same. So this is end of today's lecture. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you.